report.
Hey, Tim, good to see you. How was your drive in this morning?
Slippery. I was going to say it's a snow day here in Columbus for the kids, but when you're in preseason, you have work to do. So we had to make sure that all the players and staff knew that we still have some work to do. So hopefully, we can get out a little bit early because I think it's going to get a little bit it's going to get worse in the afternoon, right? So, but made it in safely. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of on the note of work to do, it took a while before the team kind of made some significant announcements for the moves you guys have been working on all along. I just want to know, kind of at this stage, 3 weeks out from the start of the season, do you feel like you all made the necessary moves to compete at the top of the East like you expect?
Yeah, I do. I think that we feel very happy with where the roster is at this point. Obviously, you're evolving all throughout the year. Certainly, there's different phases of the offseason where you're leading into the draft and all the reentry draft and the waiver draft, and then there's a super draft in January. Then you get the first chance to see your team in mid-late January, and so you get a chance to see where you're at and see if you need to make adjustments. We're going to bring our new signings into the second phase of preseason. We typically will divide them in half, sort of a first phase and a second phase. And so I think we're happy and satisfied with where we're at now. But now is when the matches start, and we can start to see a little bit more of our team in the second phase of preseason down in Charleston. And things might come to light where we feel like we need to make different changes. And the same goes for the first sort of half of the year into the summer window. But to kick off the year, we feel like we're in a really good place. We addressed our needs. We talked about it, I think, at the end of the year with this group. Our goals in the offseason were to become younger and healthier this year, to have more flexibility in a variety of ways, certainly in looks, in the way Caleb wants to set up the team from a formation standpoint or a tactical standpoint, to have a little bit more flexibility, maybe provide different looks home and away, and then increase our wing production. And I think those are our goals in the offseason. I think we're in a good place as of right now in preseason to achieve those.
Thank you, Tim. Next, we'll go to Pat Murphy. And again, we have time for plenty of questions, so just click raise hand.
Hey, Tim, good to see you. Glad you got there safe today. There's been plenty of talk. There's been plenty of talk about the fullback position since Milton did not come back. Obviously, Pedro Sands on the left side, but a rookie there. And then kind of how do you see the depth on the right side playing out at that position, just the makeup of the depth charts on either side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we think we're covered on the left. Obviously, we'll keep a keen eye on that position, just like all positions, because there is a change there with not just Milton, but Waylon Francis. So some of the names that our fans and people are familiar with over the last few years are gone. I do think they know Pedro quite a bit, and they know his work rate and his reliability, his ability to get up and down the wing. He obviously serves the ball extremely well, can provide assists from the left-hand side. So we're excited about, continuing with Pedro in that position. And then really, I know Caleb's been very pleased with Will coming in on the left side to provide depth. On the right side, obviously, Steven did very well for us in the limited number of games that he played last year. I think his first match was the Campeones Cup Championship, which he obviously did very well in that match. And I think that confidence, momentum, and that ability to get forward you saw on the right side from him. And so we're excited about what Steven can continue to evolve into on our roster and provide some assistance in the attack. From the depth standpoint, obviously on the right side, we'll kind of evaluate that in preseason, but we have Marlon Harrison who can play that position. Derek Etienne has played it in Champions League for us last season. So we think we have sufficient cover. And then, of course, we have Crew 2, an entire roster where we'll continue to be able to evaluate players and pull players up through the MLS Next Pro system and have a little more flexibility than maybe in the past we've had when we have not had because we didn't have a USL team and there was no MLS Next Pro.
Thank you, Tim. Next, we'll go back to Jacob.
Tim, specifically with the winger position, you pull Pedro out of there, obviously add Yaboa. Just generally, do you think the added production you want to see this season is going to be there? And I think it might be a little obvious, but I'm curious how you kind of see where that added production is going to come from.
Yeah, so some of it you'll see, I think, over the next phase of preseason. I think it's a little early to kind of talk about the shapes and the setups of the team. So I'll leave that, for over the next few matches as you see how Caleb would like to play. But part of the ability to get production on the wings means that it requires getting numbers, numerical superiority on the flanks, being able to overload, get our wing backs or fullbacks forward. And we feel like we have that with starting in the back with Pedro and Will and Stephen on the right and others on the right. So our ability to create numbers on the flanks and get all the way to the end line and cross from positions where you can have more success. And so we found that we crossed a little bit too often from deeper positions. We weren't necessarily getting to the end line or getting into the half spaces just inside the box to have a sort of what Caleb, the cutback that Caleb really harps on during training. And we feel like we're better balanced to get in those positions with Yaboa on the right, who has the ability to and the speed to get to the end line, but also to cut inside onto his left foot. And same with Stephen, who would be overlapping. Lucas tends to fade left, and our ability to have Pedro, Lucas, and either Miggy or Giassi to create combination play on the left-hand side, we feel like will get us in the positions, whether or not it's in the pocket or will free up Pedro or whoever's playing on the left to get the cross in. So it's about being a little bit more dynamic on the wings and being unpredictable patterns. And then also having some ability to beat players on the dribble. I think last year we didn't have enough of that. And I think that's what James Igbekeme can provide. He's slippery on the ball. He can shift his body and his ability to accelerate past players. I think Yaboa, you'll see that on the right. Obviously, we know Lucas can do that with the way he cuts and shifts. And so it's not just the crossing. The wing production would come from on the dribble, on the cross, and obviously cutting inside and perhaps even slipping a ball in or getting a shot.
Thank you. For our next question, we'll go to Pat Murphy, which will be a final question unless someone else wants one after that. Oh, we'll have Jacob Myers. So Pat, and the final question to Jacob.
Tim, you mentioned Caleb talking about, playing different ways, home and away. He has talked about that a lot with us. When you guys are going into an off season and kind of planning for how you're going to bring in guys, what you're thinking, where do those conversations come from? Does Caleb bring it up to you? You guys then go out and look for play. I'm just kind of curious about the behind the scenes of, okay, we're going to change some things up. Where does that start and how does that process go from him to you and then bringing players in and that kind of situation?
It's different during the year. During the year, it's a regular conversation you're having throughout the week in sort of set meeting. And where we have the various topics that we talk about, roster, our strengths and weaknesses, players that are coming through the system. There's various topics that you always want to address because you can if you don't have a template to work off of, you can find yourself talking about one thing or whatever the latest thing that happened on the weekend, right? So in communication is critical. We have a structure where we're set up where we're talking every week throughout the year. And then obviously there are informal conversations that are happening, phone calls in the evening, conversations after matches. At the end of the year, we do a review and a debrief on the full team, on the roster, every individual player. We hold meetings, we have their data, their advanced analytics. We talk about the mental side of the game and where the player is thinking on a personal level, where he's at in his career. And you really look at the whole team from both the individual level and at a collective level. And then you obviously look very closely at where you fell short, not making the playoffs, but why. And we talked about today the wing production being one of them. There's a few areas, not maybe picking up enough points on the road and getting scored on late in a few opportunities to secure just a couple points that would have got us into the playoffs. And so we look at all of that, but at the end of the year, you ask who brings it up. I would say it's both of us. We have a good enough, relationship, not just myself, but Issa and Corey and the assistant coaches, where we get in the room over days and weeks and determine, what are our weaknesses and how do you address them. And what's the most efficient way to address them? Because you can't address everything in our league with the salary cap and just the way players moving in and out. You have guaranteed contracts. You have leadership on the team where there's a chemistry element to everything of how the players fit together, and all those things come together and a number of other factors and weigh into how we make decisions and how we look at the team.
And just real quick, an off the field question, just update on where we stand kind of with season tickets and the first match coming up here in less than a month. Obviously the earliest game you guys have had. Just, I don't think we've talked to you about where that all stands in a while, so I wanted to get that in before.
Yeah. Feel very good where we're at with opening day, trending very positively. Obviously it is still in February and people are excited about the team and getting people's attention shifted from maybe another sport to soccer in February is no doubt a challenge, but having World Cup qualifying in the match in January with the US, it certainly has helped because people are taking notice of the US team. They're starting to ask questions about our roster. They're engaging with our season ticket reps. We also have a number of new staff on our ticket sales team and a new structure in that department. So it's providing results. We have obviously KB, Kristen Bernard is here to help lead that, as well as Adam Green on the ticketing sales staff. So we're excited about the leadership, the new bodies that we have to help service our season ticket members, and everything's trending well for opening day. And obviously we hope we can get to a place where we're announcing a sellout a little ways away from that, but trending very well.
And we'll actually have two questions. The next one will be Jacob Myers, and then the final one will be Clay Hall from ABC6.
Bez, I have a more serious question, but I'm curious, would you ever play in minus 14-degree wind chill like last night?
Would I ever? I mean,
or have your team play?
I'm not sure they knew it would be that those temperatures. I mean, you could probably guess, but if it helped us win, why not?
Yeah, right.
We're until they create guidelines or standards around it from FIFA. I think on the high end with temperatures that could be over 100 and humid, which our team in the U.S. has had to play in Central America. I think it's all fair. It's not us to decide those guidelines. So if it helps us win, I'm all for it. Let's qualify and let's get the Qatar.
Just before the season started, I wanted to kind of understand where the team stood in terms of flexibility under the cap, any potential openings of DP spots, or maybe more of a focus on the U22 initiative, as you guys have clearly stated you want to get a younger team and kind of usher in a new era at some point.
I think all of those options are on the table. We're looking at all of those, and I think it depends on how we look over this end portion of preseason and the first few games of what we would like to take advantage of. We have the ability to buy down DP slots. We have the ability to bring in more U22 players, both from a category standpoint, but also just from a budget standpoint. So, we feel like the roster is in a good place, but we want to, again, flexibility on the roster. And we talked about formation. We talked a little bit about home and away, but also just roster flexibility we want to maintain. And so you'll see we're probably a couple more changes on sort of the supplemental roster in the next couple of days, maybe even in the next day, just kind of making sure that the depth has what it needs to be ready to go when they're called upon, giving players the opportunity to maybe play more if it's not going to be in our setting. So we're obviously evaluating that as well. But on the first team, we will try to take advantage of every mechanism the league provides in terms of player categories to give ourselves the best chance to achieve our goals.
Thank you, Tim. And the final question goes to Clay Hall.
Good afternoon, Tim. Just curious what kind of mileage you think you got out of the stadium, and becoming an even bigger force in the market, coming off the title, and then just how encouraged or discouraged perhaps you were by fan support last year.
Thanks, Clay. Good to hear from you. No, we're just seeing, I thought, the tip of the iceberg last year with the stadium and our ability to generate excitement and buzz and provide a world-class game experience. What I would say is how much mileage have we got out of the stadium? I mean, I think it's gone global. I think people that we've talked to internationally know what's happening in Columbus. They've heard about it. You know, it helps. It doesn't hurt when the U.S. team has a match here and it's full. And we have 2 matches over the course of 3 months, essentially 3 months in the stadium. And it helps with recruitment. But when I'm talking to players and recruiting them worldwide, they've taken notice. And I think that's really exciting, not just for our club, but for our city. And it's exciting proposition for us that now we get a full year in this stadium where we can hopefully touch more people in the market. Not everyone has come to the stadium yet. Everybody's heard about it. There's still a buzz.
Sure.
So I'm excited. I'm excited about this year and our ability to take it to a new level with the ritual and traditions that you saw come to light that we were never able to do in historic Crew Stadium. And we're looking to add a few more things to continue to enhance that game experience. So really excited about this year in terms of the overall experience in the stadium.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Tim.